Aloha, everybody. I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know. I've been having some technology issues. I'm here. I'm finishing up like the last few minutes of our Mental Health Book Club for Set Boundaries, Find Peace. This was our December book. I know this is a little belated. Okay, we were talking about sort of common responses to boundaries and what to do when boundaries are violated. And so I just wanted to finish that up. Just another couple minutes here in this video. So we were talking about like what to do when people are pushed back on our boundaries or limit testing our boundaries, right? And we were saying that, we have to acknowledge that we've heard the other person's concerns. We were acknowledging what they've said. And we then have to restate our boundary. So for example, I understand how you feel, but I need to feel safe in my relationships, right? So having limits helps me feel safe. Or maybe even to say to the other person, look, you're testing my limits right now. When you don't respect my boundaries, I feel, and then be very clear in expressing how you feel. Something that I think can also happen is that someone completely ignores our boundaries, right? And I hear that from some of my clients, that sometimes family members ignore boundaries, right? They do whatever they want despite you having stated your boundary, or they act almost as if they've like misunderstood your boundary. And so what we want to do again is restate the boundary. Let them know really clearly what the boundary is, and then actually ask them to restate the boundary to you. So ask them to like repeat back to you what they just heard you say. And that's a good strategy just to make sure you're on the same page. Something else that can happen, right, is that the person rationalizes or like questions your boundary, like why, what's the point? Why should I change my behavior now? Why am I doing this? And I would say, and she suggests that, you don't want to over explain it. Like you can keep your response short and just say, look, this is what's healthy for me. This is what I'm needing, or that's not working for me, but this is what I am needing that will work for me. And that's it. Like you can simply say that. You don't have to go into a whole explanation. There doesn't need to be a whole apology to it. You can literally just say what you're needing and then repeat it until the person understands. And again, I would ask them, can you repeat back to me, what did you hear me say just now? Yeah. Something that can come up. So another common response to boundary setting that we can experience is defensiveness, where, almost like the other person turns the request that we've just made around on us, where they're almost like now accusing us of attacking them, or, accusing us of having like forcing them to explain themselves. So it's a little bit of gaslighting sometimes that can happen. And what we want, again, is stick to the I feel statement. Keep it about yourself. Take it one issue at a time. Sometimes when people get defensive, they bring up past issues and it becomes like this whole, almost like a character attack of like past problems. No, I would say keep it focused on whatever it is that you are trying to talk about and express just like in that moment. And if you can, address the issue in person. I think, to be honest, like one of the major issues that I see sometimes come up, especially with my younger clients, is that they're like texting their boundaries to each other or texting what they're needing, as opposed to speaking it. Like so much can be communicated, so much is communicated through our nonverbal body language, that if we can't see the other person, they can't see our facial expressions, our body language, like a lot gets lost in translation. So if you can have this conversation in person, even better, if it's safe to do so. Ghosting can happen. That's another common response, where the person just like ignores, doesn't, they're like not answering our calls, not answering our texts. They cancel plans with us. They are leaving us out of plans. And I would say, and she suggests, again, the author suggests, message your friend and address the behavior directly. Like if they're ghosting you and avoiding you and you can't have the conversation in person, then use the communication tool that you have, whether it's email or, text or phone call or whatever. Address exactly what's happening and simply say, I'm noticing that you haven't called me back. It's been 5 days, and I'm feeling kind of confused about that, right? And just be really clear and direct about how it's making you feel and what you're observing and what you're noticing. It doesn't have to be an attack on the person, but in something I use a lot, and I tell my clients to use, is like intention and perception. And you may say, my intention in calling you is so that we can reconnect and figure out where we went wrong here. But I know that perhaps what was I just saying? Intention and perception. Oh, so you can say it in terms of you and your intention versus how you may be perceived, but also you can give the other person the benefit of the doubt to say, look, I know it may not be your intention to ghost me, but my perception, how I'm feeling is like you are ghosting me, or like you're not wanting to talk to me. Another way that it can look is called the silent treatment, right? Where basically it's like kind of less extreme than ghosting, but it's still painful. It's still very passive aggressive, almost like they're punishing you. And that may look like giving you really short, limited kind of responses, being kind of cold. And so again, same thing. It's like you want to verbalize what you notice. You seem upset, for example. Can we talk about what I said to you? Or can we talk about what happened? So again, it's just like being very direct to say, this is what I'm observing. This is what I'm noticing. Can we have a conversation about that? And then ideally what we want, hopefully, as we state our boundaries, is acceptance. That in a healthy relationship, like a healthy response to boundaries, is for the other person to be accepting of the boundary you're setting, right? That's a sign of a healthy, functional relationship, is where we can give and receive. We can state boundaries. We can receive other people's boundaries without taking it personally. Now, if none of these work, though, if none of those options work, you can, again, restate or refresh your boundary at any time. You can reduce your interactions with people that are not meeting your boundaries, if they're not respectful of your boundaries once you've stated what you need. And you could, I'm not a big fan of ultimatums, but you could issue an ultimatum. If you don't do what I'm asking, then I'm going to have to remove myself from this relationship. And that's kind of the final, if you have to if they're not being respectful, if you've tried everything, sometimes we do have to accept and let go of the relationship, right? That may be our only option. So one of the things she says in this book, she says, your wellness hinges on your boundaries. And if you don't uphold your boundaries, others won't either. So I encourage you, those of you who are watching this live or catching the replay, I encourage you to really think about what are the boundaries that you want to set for yourself in your life as we start this new year. And if you are needing some help or some support in that, please reach out. Like, this is what I do. This is literally what I teach my clients how to do. And some of you may be familiar with my embodied paradise method. I post a lot about that. Basically what that is, I've sort of, in the work that I do as a therapist and in the work that I do within sort of as a yoga teacher, I honestly, I see the same issues again and again and again, and I have a wait list for my therapy practice. And I created my embodied paradise method as a way to integrate psychological health, physical health, spiritual health, to give my clients a way to really connect mind, body, and spirit. So this method that I've come up with integrates neuroscience, psychology, and yoga as a way to provide this alternate way for people to work on their health, as a way for them to embody sort of their highest best self, right? That's what the whole elite embodiment is, coming home to yourself, to the best version of yourself. And so there's 3 parts to my embodied paradise method, right? Part 1 is learning how to create your own personal paradise, which really involves using sort of experiential somatic soothing tools to optimize and regulate your nervous system. That's step 1. We have to calm the body. Step 2 is learning how to consciously reframe our limiting beliefs. So we're using sort of a combination of metacognition, thinking about our thinking, but also non-judgmental awareness, which is one of the yogic principles. And so it's all about learning how to rewire our brain so that we can set healthier boundaries, so that we can communicate our needs to others in more clear ways, right? So that's sort of the second piece. The third piece are really using my elite embodiment practices, which essentially, there's a whole host of different practices, but they all have to do with reconnecting to yourself. Essentially, it's a way to reconnect to your spirit, to your kind of higher, authentic self, who you are at your core. And that ultimately is what I'm teaching here. And so if any of this resonates, if you know that you need some more help with boundaries, just drop the word boundaries in the comments and I'll reach out to you. We can connect. I offer a free 20-minute holistic health audit. We'll look at what's going well in your life and where are you needing more support. And I would be more than honored to hop on a call with you and just see how I can support you in your own sort of journey of setting boundaries and finding peace as a way to really reclaim your life and your health. So I appreciate those of you who have been able to tune in live, or if you're catching the replay, please comment replay in the comments. And I will be sharing sometime in the next little bit a live about our upcoming year of the Mental Health Book Club. I'm going to do it a little differently, but I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be kind of a fun new way to connect with you guys, and I will be sharing more about that soon. Okay, thanks everybody. Hope you have a beautiful Tuesday. Aloha.